In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6514, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that two things abandon a deceased at their grave and only one thing remains with them. The two things which abandon them are their family and wealth, and the only thing which remains with them are their deeds. Throughout history, people have always concentrated the majority of their efforts to obtaining wealth and a happy family. Even though Islam does not prohibit these things, as they may be required to fulfill one's responsibilities and duties. Islam only discourages Muslims from striving for these things beyond their needs, and in cases when these things prevent one from using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. One must strive to obtain the needed wealth to fulfill their responsibilities according to the teachings of Islam, and obtain a family which will encourage them to prepare for the hereafter. These are both considered good deeds when utilized in such a manner. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6373. This is the sign of an intelligent person who gives priority to the thing which will endure and support them in their moment of need, namely, righteous deeds. On the other hand, the one who allows their wealth and relatives to prevent them from using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, are described as losers in the Holy Quran. Chapter 63 Al-Munafiqun, verse 9.
O you who have believed, let not your wealth and your children divert you from the remembrance of Allah. And whoever does that, then those are the losers.
Some may incorrectly believe they are close to Allah, the Exalted, as He has bestowed them with great wealth and family. But Allah, the Exalted, clears their confusion by declaring that the one who is dearer and nearer to Him are those who believe and perform righteous deeds. Chapter 34 Saba, verse 37.
And it is not your wealth or your children that bring you nearer to us in position, but it is by being one who has believed and done righteousness.
In another place of the Holy Quran, Allah, the Exalted, warns mankind that their wealth and relatives will not benefit them in the hereafter unless they reach the hereafter with a sound heart. Chapter 26 Ash-Shu'ara, verses 88 to 89.
The day when there will not benefit anyone wealth or children, but only one who comes to Allah with a sound heart.
The definition of the sound heart is lengthy, but simply put, one cannot obtain it until they sincerely fulfill the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refrain from His prohibitions and face destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This will ensure they adopt positive characteristics and eliminate negative characteristics. The one who possesses good character will fulfill the rights of Allah, the Exalted, and people, by using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. The one who behaves in this manner possesses a sound spiritual heart and body. In addition, one's wealth can only benefit them in the hereafter if they send it ahead of them by spending it on ongoing charity projects. This is confirmed by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1376. The same narration informs mankind that a righteous child praying for the forgiveness of their deceased parent will be accepted also. Unfortunately, in this day and age, many children are too busy seeking their inheritance to supplicate for their deceased parents. It is important to understand that raising a righteous child who supplicates for their deceased parent is not possible to achieve if the parents do not perform righteous deeds themselves during their lives, i.e. leading by example. Secondly, it is not the way of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, or his companions, may Allah be pleased with them all, to abstain from performing righteous deeds and hope others will pray for them after they depart from this world. One should strive for righteous deeds while they are alive, and then hope others will pray for them after they pass away. It is important to understand that only the wealth one sends forward to hereafter will benefit them. This involves spending one's wealth in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, such as spending on fulfilling one's responsibilities and duties, such as the education of their children. All wealth spent on vain or sinful things will become a source of stress for the owner and may well lead to their punishment in both worlds. Those who withhold the obligatory charity out of greed have been warned of dreadful punishments. For example, a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1403, warns that a person who commits this grave sin on the Day of Judgment will encounter a huge poisonous snake which will wrap around them and bite them continuously. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 180.
And let not those who greedily withhold what Allah has given them of His bounty ever think that it is better for them. Rather, it is worse for them. Their necks will be encircled by what they withheld on the day of resurrection.
A narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 1658, warns that on the Day of Judgment the gold and silver a person owned will be heated up in the flames of hell, and their bodies will be branded with it, if they failed to donate the obligatory charity due on it. Furthermore, any wealth left behind by the deceased will be left to others to enjoy, while the deceased is held accountable for collecting it. It is important to note, if a person knowingly leaves wealth to someone who is not fit to possess it and thus misuses it, then the deceased may well be held accountable for this also. Conversely, if one leaves wealth behind to someone who spends it correctly, then the deceased will face much regret on the Day of Judgment when they observe the great reward given to the one who spent it correctly. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, made it clear in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 7420, that a person can only use their wealth in 3 ways. The first is the wealth which is spent on their food. The second is the wealth spent on their clothes, and the final wealth is what they spent in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. All other wealth is left behind for other people to enjoy, while the deceased is held accountable for collecting it. Hoarding and incorrectly spending wealth inspires one to love the material world and dislike the hereafter, as they dislike leaving their beloved wealth behind, which will occur when they die. The one who dislikes the hereafter will not adequately prepare for it, meaning they will not use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. In addition, if one desires to adopt true piety, then they must be ready to spend their wealth for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 92.
Never will you attain the good reward until you spend in the way of Allah from that which you love.
In reality, wealth is a strange companion, as it only benefits someone when it leaves them, meaning when it is spent in the correct way. A person would be labeled a fool if they went on a long trip without any provisions. Similarly, the one who does not send their wealth ahead in the form of provisions for their long journey to the hereafter is also foolish. There is no doubt that one of the greatest pains a person feels at the time of death is when they realize that they are leaving behind their hard-earned wealth and journeying towards the hereafter empty-handed. A Muslim should avoid this outcome at all costs. Performing righteous deeds is the only way one prepares for their grave, as no other things of comfort will be found there. It is in fact the means for preparing one's eternal home in the hereafter. Therefore, this preparation should take priority over preparing for the temporal material world. A person would be labeled a fool if they had 2 homes and dedicated the majority of their efforts on beautifying the home which they will spend less time in. Similarly, if a Muslim dedicates more time and effort in beautifying their temporal home in this world over the eternal home of the hereafter, they too are simply foolish. This is the attitude of some, even though they admit and believe their stay in this world is short and for an unknown length, whereas their stay in the hereafter will be eternal. This attitude indicates a lack of certainty of faith, and it is therefore vital for anyone who shares this mentality to seek and act on Islamic knowledge in order to strengthen their certainty of faith before they reach the hereafter, bereft of all good. The one who prepares for their grave with sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, will find that their good deeds provide comfort for them, whereas the sins there accumulated will only make their stay in the dark grave worse. A Muslim should therefore perform good deeds during their strength and ability, before their time of weakness arrives. Each Muslim should recognize the reality indicated in the main narration, and therefore use the blessings they have been granted, in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, before they reach a time when their request to be given more time to perform righteous deeds will be denied. Chapter 63 Al-Munafiqun, verses 10 to 11.
And spend in the way of Allah from what we have provided you before death approaches one of you, and he says, My Lord, if only you would delay me for a brief term so I would give charity and be of the righteous. But never will Allah delay a soul when its time has come.
They should reflect now on their deeds, so that they can sincerely repent from sins and strive harder to perform righteous deeds before a day arrives when reflecting will not benefit them. Chapter 89 Al-Fajr, verse 23.
And brought within view that day is hell. That day man will remember, but how, i.e., what good to him will be the remembrance.
Let each one ponder over those who passed away before them, and their inability to perform more righteous deeds, to comfort them in their moment of need. Make haste before this time arrives, and prepare for the inevitable. Chapter 15 Al-Hijr, verse 99.
And worship your Lord until there comes to you the certainty, i.e., death.
Over 400 free ebooks, audiobooks, infographics, podcasts and blogs available on our website, www.shaykhpod.com.